You're watching Superskum.com. I'm Chris. I'm here with Eric and Ron from GYPSYHAWK. So you guys are a few dates into your headlining North American tour. You're playing mostly West Coast states. How's the tour been going so far?
Tour's been great so far, man. Every day is a party.
How'd you guys come up with the name GYPSYHAWK for the band?
I was super high with my friend Greg, and he was in the middle of changing his band name. And so he was talking about, like, oh man, we have all these names and stuff. And I just was like, you get super blazed. I just like kind of went off on my own thing. It was like, oh, it'd be cool for a band named GYPSYHAWK. And he was just like, yeah, that sounds cool. And that's the cat's out of the bag. That's how it happened.
Very cool. How would you guys describe GYPSYHAWK's sound?
Well, I like to sum it up with it's music for dudes to bang their heads and chicks to shake their asses. But it's also just guitar melody driven like a motherfucker.
Yeah, it's got a blues-based sound to it. So we're considered a rock band, in today's age.
Patience and Perseverance was released in July 2010. Now, many people say you have your whole life to release your first album and write it. Yeah. Was that the case for you? Did you have a bunch of songs written, or did you come up with the band and then it's like, you know what, we're going to write an album now?
No, I mean, like, it was always my intention to, start the band and then write albums and shit. But I think I had like 3 or 4 songs that were done, and the rest of them came like as people, joined the band. Like once I got Andrew and first guitar player and our first drummer, it was, we started putting things together. And then we were like, we need to write an album and put it out and shop the demo to see if anybody'd be interested. And that worked.
Patience and Perseverance was released on Creator Destructor Records. How'd you guys get noticed and ultimately signed by Metal Blade Records?
Well, we got noticed by a Creator Destructor first, which was rad because me and Andrew were, just like putting out like CDR, like kind of music and press packets to send out to a bunch of places to see if anybody would, take interest. And Ben from Creator Destructor got a hold of it and was like, whoa. He's like, these guys are going to put this record out. He's just like, I got this record label and I want to put it out. So he did that for us. And then after doing that, the album was out for a year or so. And, we were just doing it to see if anything else would happen. And our buddies in Holy Grail invited us to play a show with them at their practice space in Silver Lake after we got off this one tour. And when we agreed to do it, I think over the next week or so, we'd gotten wind that Mike Faley and our buddy Jordan Goldstein were coming down from Metal Blade to kind of scout it. And that night, after we played, Mike came out and bought a record, gave me his card, and I guess 2 weeks later we were in discussions on the deal with him. So it just, I was shocked that they took notice or anything, but it was cool.
Your previous album was recorded at Castle Ultimate Studios in Fremont, California with producer Zach Oren. Did you record at the same studio for Revelry and Resilience, and did Zach produce the album?
Yeah, Zach engineered the album, both albums. In fact, I don't know, producing is such a weird term for me. Because he's not like a producer. He won't sit there and be like, I don't think you should do this, He'll tell you, I know what you're doing or what you're going for, and it's not there yet. It's the only thing he does. But he is a fucking incredible engineer, awesome dude. He's great to work with, and I think that we're just going to be working with him for, at least well into our career because he's just that badass.
Yeah, it was really fast. We recorded 11 songs in 6 days, and it was 8-hour days. So we had our stuff together, and we do like the drums are in one day, and then we do some guitars and vocals and back and forth, and just knock it out piece by piece, song by song. So we had quite a deadline, and we were a bit worried that we'd make it, but we did it. And a lot of that had to do with him just being so quick and knowing his equipment so well, and also having that ear and how to get that good heaviness and tone out of the stuff, and also having appreciation and knowledge of what GYPSYHAWK's about from working in the past and knowing Eric and Andrew.
How's the feedback and fan response been to the new album?
I think it's been really good, man. Especially, even where would we fucking play where it was just like, that sucked. And then that place went off. And it was
Oh, San Diego.
Oh, San Diego. Yeah, exactly. Everybody was like sitting down, and after songs, they'd just be like, and then you're up there being like, fuck. Man,
I don't think it was that bad, by the way.
It was good. It was all right. It didn't seem like. I think a lot of the times like people like see us for the first time and they're just kind of like, oh, they have long hair and fucking big amps. It's definitely gonna be a metal band. And then when we start fucking boot scooting all over the stage, they're like, what the fuck is going on in my brain? And so I think like there's this underlying thing, like no matter how tough you want to act, like everybody likes to have a good time. And so I think that's helped the response be fucking pretty tight so far.
Yeah, the reason that we knew it went over well and people must have received it was because we sold a ton of merch that night. It didn't look like our typical crowd, which is a lot more underground and like punk rock or hardcore looking, the DIY underground scene. It was a lot more civilian looking people. And I don't know if a lot of them knew what was going on at first. It was like a mix of 50-50. But yeah, at the end of the night when we found out that we sold a ton of merch, we're like, okay, we must have done something right.
Must have made some impression.
You made an official music video for a song from your previous album. Do you plan on releasing a music video for a song from this album? And if you do, can you tell us a little bit how it's going to vary from the previous one?
Yes. Our next video is for the single Hedge King. And it's done by a totally different director. It's done by Simon Chan of Artificial Army, who did all the Sword videos, Mars Volta, and Coheed and Cambria, and shit like that. But our first one was just kind of, the song was just indicative of like, hey, we're here to party and have a good time. So we invited all our friends to party and have a good time. Whereas this one's more like story based, and we did a lot of it with like green screen. It's basically the idea of the song is based around George Martin's book series, A Song of Ice and Fire. There's a king named Robert Baratheon, and there's a part in the book where he mentions if it weren't for his kids and all his responsibilities in the kingdom, he'd fucking throw away his crown and be like, fuck this. Because the responsibility and just like the day-to-day pressures and all the groveling and sniveling and just got so shitty. And Andrew thought like, oh man, we could, you could relate that to like everybody's life, like doing some shit that you think that you have to do and it's just driving you fucking nuts and you hate it. So you're just like, fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want to do right now. So the song is just, and the video is just kind of about if he did leave everything up and he just goes around fucking chicks and smashing dudes' skulls in and getting drunk is tight.
So you've replaced a couple band members since your first release. Can you talk about like who you've added and what their musical experience is?
Sure. After we got our original drummer was the first to leave the band, and after he left, we got our guitar player's roommate at the time, Ian Brown, who's around the corner somewhere doing something gross. But he is a fucking awesome dude, man. He's a killer drummer. He's a solid dude. He's the youngest, so we haze him all the time, like relentlessly. But he came in with a little bit different style, like musically, because he went to a music school in Pasadena, so he was used to like being forced to playing a bunch of you know how that shit is. I don't know how it is, so I didn't go. Fuck school. So having him come in was great, man, because like you could tell him like, hey, I need you to lay this down, and at least this is what I'm trying to convey to you, and he'll be like, oh, that's like 3/4, and he'll know exactly what to play. So it's killer. And then this asshole was our final nail in the coffin. We brought him in after he was freshly wounded from White Wizard. Yeah. And he went to music school as well, but most of his influence, I guess, I don't know. I hear Detroit with just the slightest bit of Sunset Strip trying to peek its ugly head out.
Yeah. A little bit of good old 80s metal, all the sides.
In what ways, sound-wise, is the new GYPSYHAWK release different than its predecessor?
In my opinion, our first one was definitely more like not misguided, just kind of wandering and like progressive. And I think a lot of times I'd get really stoned and be like, oh yeah, this will be the fucking tightest endless stoner jam. And then on this album, I was just like, man, we need to be catching shit, like I want to write songs that like people can like want to like dance to, or at least bang their heads, or at least get up and like shuffle around to, and just put them in a good mood. And so I think that helped a lot. And his writing style is I think a lot like mine. So once he came into the fold, it wasn't so difficult to like piece something together because now I can like write something and be like, you guys know where I'm going with this? And they'll be like, yeah. And then like they'll have an idea for a few things and then we'll change it, but
Yeah, we're all on the same course, so we can go like right with the same flow rather than butting heads or anything like that. And I guess just like our backgrounds and personalities mesh really well, from senses of humor to what we're into, what we think is cool and what we think is lame, etc. And so I think that things move really quickly. And so the new songs also are more to the point. I think they're more high energy. I think they're more entertaining for someone that just comes to the bar and checks them out for the first time.
Yeah.
All right, in this day and age, there's a ton of media outlets: Facebook, YouTube, MySpace. What way do you find it best to separate yourself from all the other bands that are found there, and to successfully promote GYPSYHAWK?
Let Metal Blade do it. We like, seriously, man, like Andrew is probably like the only dude in the band that like I've had to be like, so I heard about this thing called Twitter and this thing called Instagram, so I think we're gonna need to get on that. And he's got an iPhone, so he's like the most like tech savvy of all of us, but that's not saying much. So he'll do shit like that, but like honestly, like it's really like the dudes in Metal Blade will send us over shit and be like, put this on your Facebook, and then we'll be like, all right, and we'll do that because this guy has a personal vendetta with modern technology.
Now, that's an exaggeration, but there's a little bit of fact to it. I'd say the biggest thing that sets us apart is by the touring, and that's why I joined this band.
Yeah.
And that's what sets bands apart nowadays. Everyone wants to sit back on Facebook and stay in their local town and maybe play some cool shows there, but they won't go out and go on the road and drive 9 hours a day. That's just how it goes. In a van, sleep in the van, you eat in the van, you take smoke breaks. You piss in the van sometimes. Sometimes people drink your piss accidentally.
Yes.
That
happened.
You go ahead and elaborate on that story.
Side story. Awesome. Ron brought it up. I woke up the other day in Santa Cruz and I was incredibly tired, so I went to bed before anyone else. And I woke up early in the morning and the van was just strewn with like trash and old Coke bottles. And there was one that had like this much Coke in the bottom. It was not that much, dude.
Yeah, you tell your side. Go ahead.
Oh my God, nobody saw it. So anyway, there was like this much Coke, and so I was like, oh God, I gotta pee, and I'm not going to look for a bathroom right now. So I just fucking pissed in this bottle, put the cap back on, and put it in like the trash trowel, where like we were gonna throw everything away anyway. And I started driving, and I remember our merch girl Bonnie was like, "Did you guys pee in this?" And I was like, "What?" And I looked back and saw the bottle she was on. I was like, "Yeah, I did." And they were like, "Ooh!" And her and Ian were like little school kids. They were both like two little schoolgirls. They were like, "Ew!" And I was like, "What's the fucking deal?" And they were like, "Andrew just drank it." And I was like, "No fucking way, dude."
I couldn't believe he didn't throw up. But in Andrew's defense, it looked exactly like a 3/4 full Coke or like 80% Coke. It did not look like a can of bottle of piss by any stretch.
It looked
of
like flat Coke, and apparently tasted like flat Coke.
Because that happens all the time, I mean, when people leave, 3/4 filled bottles, like, hey, can I have some of this? And you just have a swig, and it's all communal.
Yeah.
So you got some communal piss that day.
You guys will be back in Denver on December 4th in support of the Sword.
Yeah.
And you guys have also toured 6 times already. Would you consider the tour with the Sword one of your biggest?
Yeah, dude, it's the biggest for sure. Cause I mean, we just do this shit by ourselves as much as we can because we're not gonna sit around and wait for anybody to take us out and wait to take anybody else out that we can ride coattails. So this is fucking super rad that we get to do this. I mean,
yeah, when we were touring around, I think my first tour, we were listening to the Sword and we were just like thinking how cool it would be to tour with them, and then a year later to get that offer.
Yeah,
it's very strange,
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for new bands, and then do you have any messages you want to send out to your fans?
Yeah. If you're going to be in a band and you want to make it, be prepared to be as broke as we are and just eat shit all the time because there's no fucking way, at least I've never found a way to balance it. You just always got to be on the road, dude.
Constantly touring, constantly writing. It's a never-ending cycle, and I don't know if there's any pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That has nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
it's all just about a way of life.
Yeah.
Get your ass off the computer and get on that stage.
Throw yourself in the machine or just fucking stay away from it entirely.
All right, thanks, guys. I want to thank Eric and Ron from GYPSYHAWK. If they're in your town, go see them. And you're watching Superskum.com.